YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
Concept out there's so much money and it's so big that there are concepts where pieces could be given to the American public, where the American public essentially becomes a partner with the companies. And I will tell you, I have spoken to all of them. There's something very interesting about it, where it almost becomes a partnership with the American public. And we'll look into that. We are looking. I actually have a meeting scheduled in the very near future with, did you know that, with all of the companies, and we're talking about it, where the American people can benefit from the success of AI, and by doing that, they're going to like it better.
Which companies in the meeting?
All of them. All the big ones, yeah, all the big ones. They're all coming to the White House probably next week.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. A partnership with the American public. While everybody continues to be distracted by man-made created stories, the psyops that we see day in and day out, the left-right psyop that obviously most people are engulfed in, where they care about things that shouldn't even be discussed, things about gender, things about who could use what bathroom, really low-level thinking type of topics keep everybody trapped on a day-to-day basis from paying attention to what's really going on around them and what Donald Trump is doing, which is building out a technocracy here in the United States of America, which has been the plan all along. It is communism through technology, if you want a short summary of what it is. And you heard him right there. A partnership with the American public. Donald Trump is meeting with all of these big AI companies, which we all know are a branch of our government anyway, as I will tell you and have told you many times over, whether it's Meta, Facebook, whether it's Amazon, there's all connections, whether it's Tesla, all connections to the government themselves. This technology that they sell you is the technology that they would want to come to your door and make you and force you to have in your home. But the people would have rose up against it. They wouldn't have wanted phones 25 years ago where they knew that, hey, these phones have GPS tracking, they could follow you where you go, et cetera, et cetera. They knew that people wouldn't put cameras on their front doors and create a surveillance state themselves, so they created stories about porch pirates and told you that the dangers of getting murdered in your sleep were so strong these days that you should have a Ring camera on your home to protect yourself. We've created the surveillance state, all, of course, through deception. Through telling you, and as stupid as people are, through telling you that these things are to benefit you without realizing that these things are here to enslave you, and we're doing it to ourselves. So they're telling you a partnership with the American public, with artificial intelligence, that the American people will benefit from the success of AI, and then that will make them like it better. Why are they doing this? Why are they saying this? Because we're seeing pushback against data centers. Now, the main pushback we're seeing has to do with resources, has to do with they're going to take our energy. They're going to make our energy bills rise, right? They're going to make our water, take a lot of our water resources. That's going to make it difficult for us to have enough water or animals to have enough water. That's making people angry. So they're doing everything and have been doing everything they can to pivot from that, saying, look, these guys will fund themselves. These guys won't take your resources, but people are angry. We're seeing a growth and a movement against these data centers. But the thing that nobody's mentioning is that these data centers, what their purpose is. Have you heard anybody talk about their purpose is? All they're talking about is we don't want them in our town. We don't want our energy bills going up. We don't want to fund this thing with our tax money. Okay, all granted, all points taken. But the main thing everyone should be focusing on is what they're here for. The data centers are to be built out to keep a digital monitoring system of you and me and everything that we do. In other words, it's not just the stuff you text out to people where, we know people text or they use Snapchat and these other things to try to hide what they communicate with each other, which of course is not hidden at all, or VPNs or all these other things. The government is building out these data centers because each data center is going to have a digital profile of you. What you say online, what you shop for online. And no, it's not so that they can market you things and sell you things. It's so that they have a full-on surveillance on every single individual, which means that once facial recognition is in place, which it already is, that they'll be able to, every store you go to and your face is read by one of these security cameras, whether it's an airport or a Walmart or a stoplight, this stuff is going to go into a data center with a timestamp, and they're going to have you monitored and tracked 24/7. Now, they're going to do things to convince you that this is good, like tell you that this will prevent crimes, that there's true crimes going on every day, people are getting murdered, that we need more CCTV, which I've talked about over the years is one of the reasons there's so many true crime stories that they put out there. They glorify these crime shows because the hero at the end of the day is always the surveillance footage that is found that helps solve the crime because the incompetent police can't do it themselves, right? So what they're doing here is they're telling you that like Bernie Sanders wants Americans to own a piece of the pie, own a piece of AI, because all everyone's hearing about is, well, the AI boom, right? People who are invested in AI are making lots of money. Artificial intelligence, these big companies that are worth trillions of dollars. Well, the American people deserve some. So the American people hear that and they go, well, wait, we can make money off it? And they're going, yeah. What we'll do is we'll make sure that it's a partnership with you, and then you could benefit from how much money they make, right? Do you see where it's going here? This is to convince people that artificial intelligence isn't only good, that you can have a piece of it, that you could profit from it. Of course, this all leads to the technocracy I've talked about, as well as universal basic income and other horrors that surround these data centers. So focus on what these data centers are for, not the resources they're depleting, which of course is a problem, but the biggest problem is what they have planned for us with these data centers. So what the plan that's being proposed is Donald Trump is going to meet, supposedly with all these AI companies. This is a front to get you on board. This is just all it is, a ruse to get you on board with AI. They see the public feedback. Remember, they use the internet as surveillance to see how you respond. They see the pushback with the data centers. So then they go and they meet at the Bilderberg meetings. They meet secretly underground while they're doing other disturbing acts. And what do they discuss? How can we convince them? What can we do to get them on board? You saw it with COVID, right? Nobody wanted the vaccine, right? Only half the population wanted it. The people who live in fear, who think vaccines work, they went and they got them. They ended up killing themselves, or most of which were still alive, eventually will, when they get boosted up for a 20th time. But what did they do? Well, they said, hey, we'll give you gift cards. Hey, we'll give you this. Hey, if you go and get this, you can get lap dances. We'll give you free liquor bottles. We'll give you free, you name it. Visa, give everything they could think of, they were giving away because they saw the pushback. Well, now they're seeing the pushback with data centers. So the proposal is this. Bernie Sanders is pushing the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act, which would force major AI companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, etc., to hand over 50% of their stock as a one-time tax. The equity goes into a public sovereign wealth fund. Americans would get direct ownership stakes. So you could own your own enslavement. You can own your own prison. Again, this is the illusion, right? That's what America is built on. That's the American experiment. The experiment is this. Through mind control, they convince you that we have free will. And you might go, this guy's crazy. We have free will. I go to the grocery store and I pick from product A or product B, right? You're going to pick Cheerios, that brand, or you're going to pick the bottom shelf knockoff Cheerios. Well, guess what? It's the same exact thing with a different brand name. Same chemicals, same crap they're poisoning you with, which eventually gives you cancer and all other disabilities, diabetes, you name it, right? All brought to you by your government. The illusion of we're in charge, right? As if your vote counts, which is one of the hardest things to break through to these sheeple out there. Oh, well, we got to go vote. We got to get out and vote if we don't want these transgender people using the men's bathroom, these men using the women's bathroom. When the reality should be, we shouldn't even be discussing these topics, and anyone who does discuss these topics as if they want to John Bobbitt themselves should be in institutions getting help. Because we all know the reason that these people think that they're born in the wrong body and all that is through mind control. Because 100 years ago, before television, nobody was waking up going, you know what? I feel like a woman today. I'm going to cut off my dick. Right? Nobody was doing that because it wasn't a thing. The government, through mind control and propaganda and celebrity influence, and the Tavistock Institute has created this. So the people who feel this way are all subjected to mind control. So they're all victims, in a sense, of government propaganda. So those people need to not only be prayed for, they need to seek help to be corrected, to be fixed because of what the government has done. But they'll never tell you that. They just convince you, like Lady Barfbag, Gaga, and all these other psychopaths, that you're born this way. So they think they're born this way, and then they think people like us are bigots and hateful when we really want to help them. But point being is that we shouldn't be discussing these things because they should be non-issues. What we should be discussing is government overreach, government control, what you're seeing now. So they want you to convince you that you're going to have stake in this. So that makes you raise your eyebrow. That makes the common sheeple go, oh, maybe, all right, wait a minute, I could benefit from this? What exactly is this wealth fund? Oh, well, I'm sure it'll be something where you get an extra $10,000 or, in discounts at the something that really doesn't benefit you, but they'll convince you that it does, right? Or maybe they'll just give you money back. Oh, well, this fund, you'll all get a $3,000 every month. And then all of a sudden people go from, you know what, I don't care so much about the depleted resources to, hey, I'm getting paid for, I'm in Anthropic. I like Anthropic. I'm in Nebius. I like them. I'm in CoreWeave. These are all the massive data center clouds that people don't talk about that they're building out, okay? Everyone only knows Amazon, Google, fine. They're going to say you should get a stake in Google. Google will send you a check every month. All of a sudden, the perception will change. That's what they're telling you here through this wealth fund. You can have a stake in it. The public can have a say in it, right? But the reality is you have no say. They just tell you, oh, right? That's what's amazing to me about your vote. Oh, your vote counts according to these people, right? They call the news fake. They say, hey, CNN's fake, Republicans say, right? Democrats say Fox News is fake. Well, who tells you the result of the elections? Oh, the news does, right? You sit there and you watch the news and then they tell you who wins, right? These people, nobody trusts them, but they tell you who wins. You don't see who votes for who. Oh, because that's all private. We shouldn't be able to see who votes for who, right? Even though they want you to pretty much be divided into a left-right paradigm for divide and conquer purposes. So they're trying to convince these people that there's upside, that these companies that are making all this money, they can give you a piece of the pie. This is all deception to get you to accept what they're trying to do, which is build out a technocracy. So we've seen California, these other states that are banning the data center construction, right? AI boom, soaring resource demands, the wave of data centers sweeping across the U.S., and people are pushing back because they're going, we should not have to sacrifice. But the problem is that these people are thinking with their wallet, not with their brains. They're going, I don't want my energy bill up. I don't want less, they're not even at the point where they're thinking about how they're going to ration resources, which is a big thing. How they're going to tell you have to turn your electricity on and off at certain times, which they've already tested people with, right? Part of COVID, the experiment there with the carbon footprint of lights out. No, not necessarily lights out, but quarantining in place, not leaving your home at a certain time. This is all the way they want the world to look. It's a massive dystopian prison. That's what this is. It's a prison system where you're under their rule, where you have to shut lights out at a certain time. And you live like a prisoner because they can't get us all in a prison because there's not enough prisons for everyone. So you imprison yourself in your home, and then they convince you that you need to be a good person and turn your lights off at 8 to help the environment because we're all living in the same world and we all have to, Mother Nature needs us, right? Right? It's all a massive psyop. So that being said, this is the building out of a surveillance state. That's why they need these data centers. Donald Trump is meeting with these corporations, but they're not corporations. They're tentacles of the U.S. government, okay? All of these corporations that you hear about who are the big seven, right? Google, Meta, they're the billionaire trillionaires, the Bezoses, the Musks. They all have direct ties to the government. So you go, well, I don't understand. Why wouldn't they just say that they're the government? Because you wouldn't accept it. You wouldn't be shopping online. You wouldn't be having a cell phone in your pocket 24/7. They did all of this and told you that, you could buy a cell phone. You don't have to have a cell phone, right? That's how it started. So not many people had a cell phone. People go, I don't need a cell phone. Why do I want a cell phone? Teenagers would go, I don't want a phone. Then my mom and dad could call me when I'm out past curfew at 12 o'clock on a Friday, and I don't want to be nagged, right? Whereas in the older days, in the 80s and 70s, you'd be out past 12. Your parents might be concerned, but they got no way of finding you or tracking you. Well, now you got the phone in your pocket. So people at first were very skeptical, but then they turned it into, it's cheaper than a landline. Well, it's more convenient than a landline. What if you break down? And they use fear propaganda. What if you break down on the side of the road? You need a phone, right? People are getting murdered by hitchhiker, all these people on the side of the road. You want to get out of the car in the middle of the night. You got a phone. Okay, so it's for safety purposes, right? Then it turns into an addiction. And then we've gotten to the point now where you're not allowed to be a part of society without a phone. Can't get boarding passes, need your phone. You gone to any restaurants, need a phone to get the menu, need a phone to pay for things when you go somewhere with cash. Like, we don't take cash here. You want to go on the Ferris wheel? You got to scan this barcode and pay that way via Venmo, right? So it's gone from that to where it's pretty much enforced on us because they won't let you do anything and participate in society without having one. This is the technocrat state that they're building out, all through technology. So if they had told you that all this stuff with the technology was from the government, we all would have pushed back and said, I don't want it. I don't need a phone. I don't need Amazon. I don't need a Ring camera. So they used all this propaganda so that we would build it out for them and create this surveillance state. So again, the Tech Native America, for anyone that's new, I know there's nobody new because channel's been buried, doesn't get new subscribers. Fine. Let me just tell you real quick. I won't waste any time here. The Tech Native America, look at this map. Okay, this is the blueprint. This goes back over 100 years of what they've been trying to build out. Does this look strange to you? It's America merged with Canada, Greenland, and even Venezuela on the bottom. What does that sound like? Oh, wait a minute. Donald Trump, when he came in office, what did he talk about? Canada becoming the 51st state, merging with America, taking over Greenland for wink, wink resources. And most recently, right, didn't we, we went into Venezuela and now they're under U.S. rule. So technically this map is what you're seeing built out by Donald Trump. But since Donald Trump constantly talks about men have penises, girls have vaginas, and they shouldn't play the opposite sport, all of the sheeple who don't have brain capacity, who can't think, they have no mental bandwidth, so to speak, are all just listening to those things going, Trump's my guy, he's my guy. Well, we shouldn't be debating this stuff as a society. Okay, we shouldn't be debating these ridiculous topics about men dressing as women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just nonsense stuff, and that's what they're all caught in because this stuff is too much to wrap their heads around. They go, oh, wait a minute, that means I got to give them my phone. I'm not giving them my phone. I got to live like an Amish person. Oh, I like my phone. I need my phone because they're addicted to the tech, and they don't want to admit they're addicted to it, and they're building out the technocracy while distracting you with bull crap, or just say the words bullshit. Okay, that's what they're distracting you with. So the 1930s movement. Elon Musk's grandfather is one of the founding fathers of the technocracy, right? 1930s movement wanted to merge the U.S., Canada, and Greenland. How convenient that's what Trump's doing, and Elon Musk is constantly surrounded by Donald Trump as part of the entire fake election process. Again, we heard about the 51st state many times over, the Greenland acquisition, okay? For those of you that don't know and you're going, well, what is a technocracy? It's a system where technical experts, engineers, scientists, data-driven planners run society based on efficiency, scientific methods, resource allocation, and what works rather than politics, elections, ideologies, or pure markets. So if you think about it, what are they doing? They're driving everyone insane with politics. It's just they're overwhelming you with politics and division. So you get to the point where you submit and you say, you know what? I like this better. We all have one thing in common, Republicans and Democrats. We love our tech. We love our phones. It helps us in our day-to-day life. Oh, okay. Right. Well, we have that. So why don't we just do it that way? Then we don't have to worry about elections being rigged, and we don't have to worry about gender. Everyone can live the way they want, and we'll have it run through technology so it's fair. Then anyone who writes mean stuff online will arrest, and we'll go after them, especially if they talk about Israel. Oops, sorry. Am I allowed to say that? No, I'm not. That's what a technocracy is. That's what they're building out, okay? And it starts with resource allocation. Technocrats want to eliminate the price system. These people are pretending to be capitalists. People like Elon Musk, they're capitalists for themselves. They're fine, as long as there's a select few who have the wealth and the rest of us live with no income, just allowance that they give us. And they want you to accept this because they go, well, you don't have to work anymore, right? And nobody thinks about and I get it. A lot of people have jobs that they don't want to work in, that they feel, I don't want to go sit at a desk. Agreed, but you weren't born to go sit at a desk to make enough money just to pay for rent. This is not how we were born to live, the system that they've created, okay? So nobody should want it, but it'll be just as bad if you don't have a job, you don't have anything to do, and you're sitting at home and you don't have any skills, because that's what they've done to all of us, right? They've made us all go into college, et cetera. The last 20, 30 years, you learn things that are completely pointless, that only serve the matrix. Nobody knows how to farm. Nobody knows how to do anything themselves. They have no trades whatsoever. So then when they take jobs away, you just sit around and do what? Live in the metaverse, right? Live in video games and do that stuff. And then you get even more depressed and your life becomes more meaningless, which is what they want. But resource allocation is a key, okay? Because they're all talking about it. That's what a technocracy is built on, okay? It's a no price system, eliminating. So what's Elon Musk talking about? Well, he's talking about universal basic income, right? Remedy to AI-driven unemployment. He's even openly tweeted, I've shown this many times, accelerating Starship development to build the Martian technocracy. But everyone takes it as a joke because of the gimmick that he plays, right? Oh, Elon Musk is quirky. He talks about Mars. Again, that has to do with Greenland and Devon Island, where they're going to deceive you into thinking that it's Mars. That's where fake NASA runs their fake imagery of showing you Mars. It's all done in Greenland up on Devon Island, which you could research for yourself, which all those videos are available on my website, which again, I highly recommend people join the website. If you want more content from me anywhere, the more support the channel gets, the more time I have to make content. But my archive of videos, thousands of videos, are available on the website. So Musk, Altman, These guys who pretend in public, oh, they're feuding, they're suing one another, right? That's all part of the illusion to make you think that there isn't a conspiracy happening here for a technocrat, right? A conspiracy, by definition, would be these people getting together, conspiring to do something deceitful to the people, right? And that's what they're doing. Musk and Altman push for new visions of income in an AI era, right? But they're at court with one another because they don't want you to think that they're all in on it, working together. They pretend like, oh, well, Gates doesn't like this guy, Bezos doesn't like that guy. They're all butt buddy puppets for the deep state. That's what they are. And this sums it up best, okay? If anything is a conspiracy, of course, this is from 1933. Yes, 33, their favorite number. Technocrats magazine. This is 1933. Think about the technology 1933 versus 2026. Big difference, right? Look at this. 30 million out of work in 1933, or $20,000 a year income for every family. Which is better? Which would you rather have? Convincing people, stay home, let the machines do the work, and we'll give you free money. Just enough money so that you could eat our poisonous food that we make for you and buy our ridiculous stuff that we overprice and sell to you while we dump chemicals on you from the sky and poison your water, right? This goes back to 1933, this magazine cover. This is not 2026, this is 1933. They've been trying to push this. Do you see where we're headed now with the acceptance of tech? You see, in the past, it wasn't accepted. You might say, well, they didn't have this type of tech. Well, they've had this type of fallen angel technology for a long time. It's about getting people dumb enough to accept it, be getting mass amounts of information from all different sides, right? You constantly are consuming media, whether it's entertainment on YouTube, on your phone here, television there. Constantly people are getting it. They're overwhelmed by it. They're not even processing what they're hearing or seeing around them. And that's what I'm trying to do with this channel. I have been for years, is trying to get you to pay attention to what they're doing, right? And then, of course, what else does it say? Well, again, we have resource allocation, expert influence baked in, right? The fund would give broad representation and veto power on harmful decisions and practice. It likely means bureaucrats, policy experts, or AI influencing roadmaps. Modern technocracy debates often involve AI assistant governance or expert rule over transformative tech. And who's talking about AI governance? Well, that's what the World Economic Forum is. That's what the United Nations is. That's what they're talking about every time they go and meet. Right? Trump goes there and everyone just goes, well, there's Larry Fink. There's all these scumbags that are trying to control our behavior and what we say. And then Trump goes and they go, well, he's not there because he's one of them. He's going there to talk about how the transgender stuff's stupid and Biden's an idiot and he's Sleepy Joe, right? These little things like children talk about and argue about. That's where the brain capacity is of adults in our society, which is, again, is why you see most 40-year-old and 50-year-old men who, instead of facing this stuff, being men about it and saying, hey, this is what's going on. I'm going to say I was wrong with Trump. I'm going to say I was wrong with this stuff. They're tricking us and duping us and working us against each other. Instead, what they're doing is refusing to accept the truth and reverting to childhood-like tendencies, which, of course, in psychology is just a basic form of regression. Humans are regressing. So adults have you seen all this stuff with like retro? You see these big toy conventions they have? Like they'll fill out Madison Square Garden or the Barclays Center. And there's 50-year-old men going there dressed up as these characters. And of course, in today's world, they're like, what's wrong with that? 20 years ago, they would have got bullied to death. But now, oh, how could you make fun of them? They want to play with toys. They want to do this. The problem isn't that, oh, they like these things from their past. The problem is that they're regressing as humans. And they're not facing the things that we're being confronted with now, which is them building out an enslavement grid, which is exactly what Donald Trump and AI is. It's AI governance, and no one is paying attention to it. And that's, again, why it's right in front of us. Trump with Musk, I showed you the connections with him and his grandfather, Joshua Haldeman. Again, one of the founders of this technocracy movement. In science, we trust. You get Bezos. I've talked about Bezos, right? One of the biggest faces of technology. Everyone shops on Amazon, right? As soon as you think of something, oh, I got to get this. What do? You go into the store to get it? No, you're going on Amazon, right? Bezos, his grandfather, was one of the founders, or if not the founder, of ARPA, which is DARPA, which is also the founder of the internet, okay? Bezos didn't just come up with this idea. He's a dorky character, just like Musk is a dorky character, just like Zuckerberg is a dorky character, all hanging around Trump, by the way. I've talked about DARPA and LifeLog. The Pentagon's LifeLog project that they had is Facebook. It's the same exact thing, okay? LifeLog project, ambitious effort to build a database tracking a person's entire existence run by DARPA. What happened? Oh, Pentagon killed the LifeLog project. And on the same exact day they announced that they killed it, they started Facebook, right? And then what do? They give you a fake story. Oh, you know how Zuckerberg, he came up with this, he stole it from these twins at the Harvard University where all the smart people go, right? And then they make a movie about it immediately so that in your mind, it's ingrained that some guy came up with this idea, just like Jeff Bezos came up with that idea, just like Elon Musk did. No. These are government enslavement tools that they've built to enslave us. And they convince you that these people come up with these ideas, that they benefit your life, they help connect you with old friends. Oh, it's all in good fun and everything else until, of course, the data centers are built out and you realize you were wrong and people like me were right. We got Peter Thiel with Donald Trump, Bill Gates with Donald Trump, right? It goes on and on and on. And again, the Technocrats magazine, if you read some of the description here, technocracy was a progressive engineering movement founded by Howard Scott, Walter, whoever, who gives a crap. And then you go down and it goes, technocrats wanted to do away with the capitalist price system in favor of one that used an energy theory of value. Think about that. Energy theory of value. So suddenly dollars aren't worth anything, but energy is, right? That's what you hear them talking about this, shifting towards this with energy, right? These things are the new money. How much water you can have, how much food you can have, rationing these things. And that'll be a currency in a sense. And people go, well, it's like old bartering, right? Right. But then all the energy is for the data centers that are to stay on 24/7 to keep a digital profile of you. And even these stories out there about homes installing tiny data centers onto their homes, building these things onto your home. These people aren't concerned, right? I've talked about the dangers of all this smart tech. It's all tracking tech. Right? Oh, get a smart meter. Why do you want a smart meter? They just go, well, it's smart. Oh, it's smart, right? Not only can it blow your home up, but it gives the government control via Wi-Fi to shut your electricity off when this all goes down. That's why they're doing it this way. Well, you don't have a clue what they're doing. And then when it's all in place and you have it on your home and you can't get it off your home, and if you try to rip it off your home, well, you won't have electricity anyway, so they win, right? Energy theory of value. And who was just talking about it? Oh, right. Sam Altman, who's going to be meeting at the White House this week with the president, talking about, well, listen for yourself how he says they see a future where intelligence is a utility. So the things that they're getting everyone addicted to now, Google search, getting all your information from the internet. Anytime you have a question, what do? You type it into the internet, whether it's Google or DuckDuckGo, whatever you use, you think secure, which is not anyway. You're going there. You don't have encyclopedias anymore. You have books, right? Everyone's doing it online. So anytime you have a question, you need to run to the internet to get the answer. Well, they're looking at it saying, in the future, intelligence will be a utility. So, you know, if your behavior is good and you tell us that we're great and wonderful and you don't try to uprise against us, we'll give you an hour a day where you can go online and do these things. And we'll give you an hour a day, maybe extra, where you can have electricity at night, maybe one extra shower a week. Because again, the goal is to live like a prisoner. But listen to him talking about intelligence being utility. And they say these things in front of everyone's faces because they know that people are too dumb to even understand what they're saying.
Fundamentally, our business, and I think the business of every other model provider, is going to look like selling tokens. You know, they may come from bigger or smaller models, which makes them more or less expensive. They may use more or less reasoning, which also makes them more or less expensive. They may be running all the time in the background trying to help you out. They may run only when you need them if you want to pay less. They may work super hard, you know, spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions, someday billions of dollars on a single problem that's really valuable. But we see a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for. The demand that we see for that seems like it's going to continue to just go like this. If we don't have enough, we either can't sell it, or the price gets really high and it, you know, kind of goes to rich people, or society makes a bunch of sort of central planning decisions that I think almost always go badly about, you know, we're going to use our limited compute supply for this and not that. The best thing to me throughout all the history of capitalism, innovation, whatever you want, is to just flood the market. Yeah.
So you can buy intelligence from them, right? Remember, on your allocated allowance that they give you, so they'll give you a little, everybody gets, you know, they'll say everyone gets $100,000, but it'll really be the equivalent of 10 cents because it won't matter because the dollar's worth nothing. And then you'll go, well, I have $100,000. And they go, well, if you want to, you know, if it's $99,000 for you to use, you know, to get information, or every Google search is a penny, and you go, oh, that's not a lot. Then you realize, wait a minute, you're Google searching like 5,000 times a day. It's $5,000 and you get $100,000 for the year. I mean, they are literally telling you in front of you, they're building out a technocracy. Okay? They want you to partner with them now because they don't want you to realize what they're actually doing, which is why Donald Trump is doing this, along with all these big tech fronts who are really DARPA, which is really the deep government, deep state. You want to call it the deep state, whatever these people call it, whatever you want to call it. Okay? This is the matrix that's being built out through tech. It's communism through technology. It is a technocracy. All the things I showed you are already being done. Nobody goes, why does Trump want Canada? Why does Trump want Greenland? Oh, how convenient that that's the map for technocracy. How convenient we just went into Venezuela. When people went, why are we going into Venezuela? Why are we running Venezuela currently? Oh, matches the map perfectly, right? They're holding their middle finger in front of your face going, you're too dumb to figure out what we're doing. But what we need to do, even though you're dumb and can't figure it out, is we need to convince you to defend it. Because remember the quote from The Matrix, right? People were so dependent on it that they'll defend it. They'll defend the Matrix, right? Wasn't that quote from The Matrix? The people will become so dependent on the system itself to defend it.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was.
Look again. Freeze it.
Well, think about that. How dependent they are on tech, on the internet, on their phones. They'll go, I'm not, until you take it away from them. Take someone's phone away from them. They realize their phone's gone for 5 minutes. They'll catch fire and explode and die like a scene from Scanners or something. People cannot live without their tech. They'll pretend they can. They can't. How many people have you seen who left their home without their phone and turned their car around? 20 minutes. I got to go back. Hey, my phone can't be on my phone all day. What do you need your phone for? I don't know, work stuff. Oh, right. No, you don't. You just, you're addicted to it. You need to text when you're on the toilet. You need to text when you're in the shower. You need to be listening to your favorite YouTuber. You need to do this. Got to be doing that. Got to be doing that. Addiction. It's the worst addiction known to man. And then you never hear them talk about it. They'll talk about fentanyl. They'll talk about liquor. They'll talk about all this stuff, which are bad addictions, of course. Very bad addictions. But the worst is technology, the addiction to it, because it's causing people to have to make a choice in the future about what they're going to do. Are they going to move away? They're telling you, look, if you want to continue with this tech that we've given you for free all these years, you're going to have to come on board with our data centers, et cetera. And people are going to go, no, can't we just have it the way it is right now? And they're going to go, no. You want all the stuff the way it is because you've been using the internet for 20 years to get your information and book in your flights and everything's more convenient for you. You're going to have to go on board. But here's the caveat. We'll give you a piece of the cake. And people go, all right, wait a minute. I can get a little bit of this? Yeah, we'll give you a little bit of this fake money. We'll pretend we're going to give you money, just like we pretended with Doge. We're going to give you money. And then you'll accept the data centers. Then we'll build them out. Then you'll realize, oh my goodness, we've all been divided over ridiculous issues. And now we're all enslaved inside of a technocrat, right? That's what's happening, and Donald Trump is doing it. I thank everybody for being here. Reminder, please join the website if you have not. You could become a patron or support this channel through PayPal. I know people are upset that I don't make as much content, but look, I don't have as much time, okay? Just like you all have to pay bills, eat, whatever you might have to do, I do as well. I'm not complaining about it. That's the way the world is now. I've gone through 900 channels. No, I've literally gone through over 90 channels where they demonetize. I can't get monetized anymore. They finally figured out how to make sure that I don't. With my voice, etc., and all the people that copy my channels and use my content, they deem me as reused content, non-monetized. Can't be monetized, even if they, past that, they say it's harmful content anyway. So that makes it harder for me to make content every single day, which I know a lot of you who have been here for a long time are accustomed to. I apologize for that, but that's the way it goes. And again, I'm not even sure how much longer I want to do this. I've been saying it for a while. I'm getting close to a point where I might take a long, extended period of time off and see if I miss it and I want to do it anymore or not. Because life goes on. It moves on. I can't stop what's coming. Only Christ can. All I can do is try to warn people and wake them up. And I've seen over the years, if you want my honest perspective, as somebody who watches human behavior, who watches people, analyzes people. Of course, there's people who don't like my channel, don't like me, tone of my voice. That's the way it is with everything, right? There's people who didn't like Jesus, for crying out loud. But the mind control is so thick that these people, in the left-right paradigm, it's almost unpenetratable at this point. They've chosen a side. They refuse to acknowledge being wrong because they're narcissists without realizing it. They will not separate from it. And they think that this stuff, that even though they feel it, they feel something's wrong with the data centers. They feel something's wrong. They trust in Trump because they've been trained to. They tried to kill him. He's got to be doing something right. Oh, right. They believe in psyops, or they don't believe in psyops, the fakest ones we've ever seen, which are the fake assassinations of the president of the United States 3 times, which were, some of the most laughable. And we'll see more because those things build up more trust in him and that he's doing something right. He's not building the new world order. That's why they keep doing it. And they'll keep doing it, right? Over and over and over again. So the United States of technocracy, you can get a piece of the pie, ladies and gentlemen. If you're dumb enough and you're a sheeple, you'll believe it. And sadly enough, there's many that will. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.